Cam Ward loves you guys, so
Dude, talk about Cam a little bit. I mean, he gets his first win yesterday. I mean, the guy is statistically not the greatest, but from a press conference standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, as a rookie, I heard an amazing story about him when he first transferred to Miami, that he was basically MFing a lot of guys talking about being great right in spring. Like, tell me about Cam Ward.
well, the best story was he got here and we really needed an alpha at quarterback. And so right away, right, I want all the wide receivers numbers. I want to call them up. I want to get some routes in on Saturday. And he gets them all rounded up except for one. One hit him up with, like a big time attitude, like, "No, man, I'm in Fort Lauderdale. I'm gonna throw with Lamar Jackson." And Cam says, "All right, mother, you want to go throw with Lamar Jackson? He better throw you passes during the year because I ain't gonna throw you squat." And that made the receiver get in the car and come back down in a hurry and throw it.
Hey, that is incredible.
That is really cool. What are your thoughts like when he's coming out last week after the press conference and saying, "I'm going to keep it a buck right now"? We asked. That was obviously going viral. People kind of get uneasy, like, about him being so blunt and transparent about it. But as his former head coach, what are you sitting back and thinking when he's going out to a press conference saying something like that?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it. It's almost like nowadays, you guys were ball players. It's like everything is so intrusive, man. So if you're feeling something and it comes out, get ready for it to go viral, and you almost have to conduct yourself in a manner where you gotta almost script your mouth sometimes. But I mean, that guy is just pure raw emotion. He is the ultimate competitor, and he wants nothing more than to win. He could give a rat's you know what about anything except winning. So he's going to be unfiltered, but you're going to get the very best of that guy every time he sets foot on the field.
Coach, we're living in such a unique world with college football right now. You're one of 6 schools that had a top 25 recruiting class and transfer portal class in the last 3 seasons. How do you get so many new faces to buy into your culture week in and week out? Because obviously when Will and I played, you would go, the school you chose, the school you went to. And if you were to transfer, you have to sit out for a year. There's a whole bunch of things where that didn't really happen a whole lot. So the guys you're with in year 1, you're with in year 4 or 5. How do you keep a culture and keep guys blended together in such a way when you have so much turnover every single year?
Well, we've been learning and improving at that process because you're right. Like it's almost like every year you're coaching a 1-year team, right? And the goal is get them all here early, get them here in January, and then go right to work and go right to every opportunity you can have to get these dudes together in a competitive environment, and then an environment where they could open up and, find out a little bit more about each other. That's when you get to know people because you really can't respect anybody until you get to know them, until you work your butts off with them. And so we provide that for them. It's really that simple, but we have done a really good job choosing the right guys because we work to a level where if you don't like work, you're going to hate it around here.
How's the process? Because you talked about how it's kind of developed and changed. How do you develop that process? Because again, it's like we can rattle off that in the last 3 years you've have a top 25 recruiting class and transfer portal class, but how has that kind of evolved over the course of the last few years? Especially, it's like your first season, you're only a 5-win team. So you're pitching this vision, you're trying to sell the program while also trying to get better. Like, hey, there were some things I liked about this process in year 1 on having a top 25 recruiting class and transfer portal class. How has it developed into where you currently are?
Well, I learned as a GA, I came to Miami as a graduate assistant when they were really bad. They were coming off probation. That roster was abysmal, and I quickly learned the value of talent acquisition along with player development and then personnel use. And so arriving at Miami 3 years ago, it was the roster needed a massive overhaul. And now that you can construct your roster in a couple of different manners, I mean, of course, the portal and high school recruiting, but you also have junior college recruiting, you have overseas recruiting, you have the preferred walk-on route. You can find really, really good quality players that are made of the right stuff. And there was a second transfer window, so spring was almost like mini camp. And I was never in the NFL except for a cup of coffee as an undrafted free agent, but you kind of use the springtime as mini camp and found out what fit, what didn't fit, and then make more adjustments and additions from there. But it all related around the culture, man. It was all about getting hard work and tough ass SOBs that want to be part of it and aren't willing to compromise the right stuff.
How important, like how quickly was the importance of getting your staff and personnel right on the talent acquisition side. You look at a team like yours right now, you basically revamped the entire back end in the offseason, but also you look at teams like Texas Tech, Oregon, I would put up there as well, as far as the whole talent acquisition thing, grading talent, guys coming into your facility. How important was that puzzle piece? I don't know if it's like GM, like you got kind of a scouting department now, but how quickly was that importance established at Miami?
It's got to be everybody on board, man. Nothing worse than a coach that thinks that he's the secret sauce. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, it's my plays, it's my design, it's my teachings. BS. The magic is the players. Now, players with mentality and culture creates real magic, but getting everybody to understand that you have to bring in high level, high ceiling talent that's willing to work their butts off, because nowadays in college football, everybody has good players. And if you're crazy enough to think that your opponent on a weekly basis doesn't have enough talent to whoop your ass, you're out of your mind. Everybody has talent. So talent acquisition, and then the right type of talent, the right type of mentality, the right type of DNA.
So you play in this last game, and they're talking to you on the field, and you look directly in the camera and you say, "We're state champs." What does it mean to be a state champ in Florida? Which, a lot of people say that's the mecca of, high school football, speed, talent, everything. Like, what does that mean for you guys?
It means a ton to me as a former Miami Hurricane, as a former player here. This game was everything to us, man. It always was. Playing the in-state teams. I mean, it seemed like the national title always went through Coral Gables or one of those other cities, or South Bend. So the stakes were always high. The intensity was off the charts. You know what? When we got here, we were so far behind. We were so deep into just a bad roster spot, a bad culture spot, that I think people took joy in kind of beating us around a little bit. So we've been a very, how do I say this politically correct? We've been a very driven team and a hardworking team to just get better. And we got a long way to go. I mean, we have massive improvement that we need to make to accomplish our goals, but we're progressing. We finally had the opportunity for 2 years straight to be state champions for Florida, and that means a ton to us. So our alumni, they're all about the in-state games, man. They love it. So glad to see them get to enjoy that.
We were telling stories about Cam Ward and the leadership that he brought and the intangibles that he brought to the locker room to kind of go with his talent. Carson Beck is somebody you guys go out and get, and walk us through that process of thumbnailing through or combing through. This is the right guy for the program, especially when you look at he transferred from Georgia. There's some off-field drama, whether people make stuff up on the internet with girlfriends, stolen car, like just different things for Carson Beck. You go out and beat Notre Dame, and he has such an emotional post-game presser to where you're starting to, it feels like people kind of start to root for the guy because he seems so emotional, like he's grown and everything else. What was the process like of being like, this is the guy we want to be the quarterback of our team to kind of success Cam Ward?
Yeah, it starts with the film. Like, and actually, let's go back to high school. I mean, I was at coaching at another place, but I watched him in high school. I'm like, man, that guy's a dude. Love to have him. And then you watch him in 23 at Georgia, and it's off the charts. I mean, let's go back in time. When entering 2024, Carson Beck was a projected top quarterback to be taken, and Cam Ward was a projected 5th to 7th rounder, right?
Yeah.
Fast forward a year later, Cam Ward comes over here. He works his butt off. We give him a great offensive line, the right pieces around him, and opportunities to make plays. He becomes a #1 pick. So let's fast forward again. And then now we have, watching Carson on film, we thought that his 24 season was not a complete reflection of him, his play, his ability. We thought that some of the thing, not being critical of anybody, I don't believe in that type of stuff. I just think that they didn't look in sync, and he wasn't playing to his capabilities due to some of the pieces, some of the schematic stuff. So we're like, we can, that guy over here in our scheme, we can be really damn good. And we're not there yet, but we're certainly progressing, and he's really starting to take off now.